Hi internet friends, my name is John and welcome to the end of the year show. Now in this show I'm going to talk about all my highlights of 2020. Now I think for most of us we can all agree that we can say a big fuck you to COVID. It has completely ruined our lives. Most of us have actually spent majority of time inside rather than doing things we'd rather want. So in this episode I'm going to talk about all my favourite albums, all the favourite YouTube channels I've been watching, podcasts, books, all that sort of stuff. This is definitely not a tech or programming based video. However, I'll just give you some inspiration in case you're sat at home like me and you're bored and thinking of things to do. So, if you like this content and you find me entertaining, don't know why, remember, hit that subscribe button, be a legend. This is the easiest way that you can make someone's Christmas by clicking subscribe now. Let's crack on. Let us start this video discussing the most hotly talked about topic in my morning stand-ups, and that is, what are you watching on TV right now? Okay, so to start off, I probably watched more TV this year than I have ever before, and the best show this year for me, hands down, is The Mandalorian. That is the way. Now, if you haven't seen it, it's all about this guy looking after Baby Yoda, but it's not Baby Yoda, spoiler. However, every single episode is like a cinematic masterpiece. Each episode looks like a film, it acts like a film. If you haven't seen it, it's amazing. The production value is just spot on. So next up on my list is probably a bit of a surprise one for me. I'm not a big fan of the Queen, even though I am from England. That's just the way it is. However, The Crown is actually like a real life portrait on the Queen over her lifetime, some of the decisions she's made. It's actually really interesting because obviously she's put in difficult situations. Some of the choices I don't think I'd make or potentially agree with. However, this is like a real life sort of portrait of what the Queen has done over the years. So it's actually pretty interesting. We smashed through this in about a month. If you have ever had the urge to go out and dig for some gold or go treasure hunting, then Gold Rush could be the program for you. Now, the series has been on for many years, and it basically follows around a team of miners who are trying to find enough gold. Now, the amount of gold they can make per week is ridiculous. Sometimes they're making $500,000 every week. Now, some of the miners don't really make it and they lose everything. So this program is surprisingly watchable because each week you want to see how much gold they're making and if they're winning or losing. Right, next up is a bit of an unusual choice as well. It's called We Are the Champions. Now, we watched this recently. It's basically a program of weird competitions, and it sort of warms your heart up a little bit. So this is stuff like cheese rolling, chili eating, hairdressing, and there's all these weird little niche competitions that you have no idea going on, but for the people involved mean the world and it's their life. So definitely worth watching. Now next up is a trash TV choice, and that is Jersey Shore Family Vacation. Don't know why I watch it, it's just something that I've been forced to watch over many years. It's loads of drama, it's easy to watch. Again, sit back, don't really need to pay much attention. And last up is another TV program which I'm sure many people have watched. Number one in Netflix for ages, The Queen's Gambit. It's all about like a chess prodigy. She goes from an orphanage to become like the world's best chess player. There's loads of drama, all that sort of stuff. So recommend checking it out. And that is my list of TV recommendations. Another unpredicted side effect from being locked in all day is I actually started to watch a lot more YouTube videos. And this is one of the things that actually helped me with this channel and improve quality and that sort of stuff. I'm probably quite late in the game. I always used to use YouTube just to watch music videos, if I'm honest. However, this year I've actually started subscribing to people and there's some amazing, great niche content out there. As I said, I'm probably really late in the game, but I'll just go over the channels that I've been watching. So first off, Mr. Beast. What a legend this guy is, just giving all his money away. If you haven't seen any of his videos, you could probably spend a good couple of days watching this. Does things like put 1,000 Christmas lights on houses, gives away Lambos, all that sort of stuff. Subscribe, there's some good content in there which is really fun. Next up is Cara and Nate. So before 2020 happened, I used to travel all the time. I definitely still have quite a lot of wanderlust, and these guys have been all around the planet. The one thing that I really like about them recently is they've been going around America in a Sprinter van and then going to all these different weird hotels that you probably never go to. They also did some cool Appalachian cycling trail. That was really cool, so again, recommend you watch those. Next up, there's a couple which is called Sailing La Vagabond, and these are basically two Australian people on a catamaran, and all they do is sail around the world. Now, even in lockdown, they still manage to go to some really nice places. They're still traveling, and they give me inspiration because I've just had a little baby. Seeing this family being able to travel the world with their child gives me hope that yes, I might be able to beat my 9 to 5 and I won't have to work for the rest of my life. Please. Next up on the list is another travel show that I've been watching, and it's called The Endless Adventure. Now, this is a channel by a couple called Eric and Alison. This year, because they've been in lockdown, they bought an old RV. They've been doing it up. It's taken them forever. However, it's pretty good to watch. Before that, food was their thing, so they used to travel the world, try loads of different types of food. If you like that sort of thing, subscribe. Next up is another one which I recommend. It's called Reunited Apart. Now, if you haven't seen this before, the premise is really simple. 80s, 90s movies, they reunite the cast. So they've done things like Back to the Future, Ghostbusters, Karate Kid, Wayne's World. If you haven't seen it, it is genius. If the thought of people sending in videos and pictures of their gaming and office setups gives you wet dreams at night, then you should definitely go over and subscribe to TechSource. TechSource, the guy called Edgar, does a program called Setup Wars. People from around the world show them pictures of their desk setups. Loads of people put stupid amounts of money in this. There's some actually unbelievable things. I didn't think I'd actually like it, but I'm pretty gripped every week, so definitely recommend this out. Next one up is a lady called Leah Shetvir. I probably butchered her name. She's basically one of the Guinness World Records of eating quickly. So she just got a channel of her scoffing down food stupidly quickly. I mean, she'll eat like a whole of McDonald's menu within a few seconds. It's very weird to watch, but I've never seen anyone eat as quick as she can. It's definitely worth a view. Last but not least is a YouTube channel called Bored and Bankrupt. Now, this guy started off in India, and he used to go all around India and sort of see all the different things. In the last few years, he's moved on to Russia, so he goes to like all these really remote parts of Russia, places that you'd never go to, and just have a look at how, you know, old communist life used to be. It's pretty interesting to see a side of the world that you'd never see before, or probably never even thought about. So definitely recommend giving that a chance. So I'm hoping some of those tickle your fancy and you might watch them yourself. That rounds up my YouTube viewing of the year. Now let's move on. Next up is podcasts. Now, I've got to admit, I'm not the biggest podcast listener in the world. However, I do have 3 recommendations. The first one being The Missing Crypto Queen. Now, this is all about a woman who set up a fake cryptocurrency, scammed loads of people, disappeared. And the series is them trying to find her and expose the secrets. Now, there's a new episode out which I haven't seen recently, so they might have actually found her. However, it's pretty gripping. You can go for a walk and you get lost in your thoughts. Next up is a one for the UK property people who are looking into investments, and that's called The Property Hub. I've been listening to these guys on and off for ages. I probably haven't talked about it in this podcast. However, I do have a few buy-to-let properties which I use to get side income. If you're living in the UK and you're thinking about buying an investment or buying a property, then you can get some great information from this weekly podcast. Now, last up is a podcast called The Happiness Lab. Me and my wife have been enjoying that quite a lot recently. It's by someone called Laurie Santos, probably butchering the name, who works at Yale. So she's a scientist, a psychologist, or whatever her profession is. However, this is all looking at happiness through science and actually research and that sort of stuff. And it explains, you know, what makes us happy, what we think about, why we do certain things. So it's very interesting. You know, if you're stuck at home and you're worried about mental health, this might help you out. I am from London, England, and before 2020 kicked off, I used to spend a good part of an hour every single day on the tube, rammed in with all the other commuters trying to get into the office. Now, instead of just smelling the guys next to my armpit, I was actually a bit more productive with my time, and what that meant is I used to read about 30 or 40 different books every year. However, in this year, I've been in lockdown most of it, and I've actually found it a lot harder to concentrate and spend time reading, even though I've actually got more time. So what I've done is condensed all the books I've read into these 5. Hope you like them. So we're going to start off with a book that I read last January. Seems quite fitting to start off with this book because it's that time of the year where we do our goal setting and all that sort of hippy dippy shit. So You Are a Badass is actually quite a good book. It took me about 2 days to read. Went through it. For those of you who've never read a personal development book, it's all about goal setting, you know, giving out to the life and the universe, and it gives back. Now, personally, I'm not into, you know, all the science and, you know, I'm a factual man. I like science. However, I do think there's a good value of defining your goals. At the start of the year, I said I wanted to manage a team, and 12 months later, I'm doing that. So it sort of works. So yeah, this book is, you know, it's about $6. Took me 2 days to read. I got some benefits out of it. Who knows? It might have helped me get the job that I'm currently doing. So it's definitely worth a read. The second book that I'm recommending, unfortunately, is a workbook. However, it is a very easy read, and the book is called The Unicorn Project. Now, this is the second book in the series, the first one being The Phoenix Project. If you haven't read that and you do any sort of software development, you definitely should. It's an essential 101. Now, this book is the second in the series. It's written by, from this perspective of a female developer in a company with troubles, and it talks all about the political issues, the problems of trying to get work done, all that sort of stuff. Again, it's a very easy read. You can get through it in about 5 days. However, if you're into software development, it will definitely give you some ideas of how you can deliver value to your customers. Definitely worth. Next up is the autobiography by the boxing legend that is the Gypsy King, Tyson Fury. Now, even if you're not into boxing, this book's quite interesting because he talks about all of his mental health issues. Now, even though he was at the top of his game and doing successfully well, he actually got depression. And this book talks you all about through that process and how he got back to number one and all his struggles. So really interesting. He's very open about it. Definitely worth a read. Next up is a book that's been sat on my bookshelf for about 5 years that I've never bothered reading, and that is Getting Things Done. I always thought it'd probably be more important to actually get things done than read a book about it. However, I wish I sort of read it 5 years ago. There's some great ideas in here. If you're looking for a new productivity system or a way to organize your life, give this a read. There's loads of good tips in there. The last book that I'm going to recommend is another workbook. I know it's been a sad year where the only books I've really read are a book about boxing and 3 workbooks. However, it's a good book. Again, it's a very quick, easy read. It took me about a week, and it's called The Manager's Path by Camille Foreigner. Sorry, I probably butchered the name right there. The reason why I like this book is she explains all the different types of software roles. So junior developer, she talks about what the expectations are and then how the game plan to get to the next level. So she walks you all the way from junior to CTO. She's had some experience in startups. So at each stage, there's some relevant advice that anyone can take away. And again, if you're even just a project manager or you're overseeing a team, there's probably some advice or some bits and tricks that you can get out of this book. So well worth a read. Next up is the technology I bought this year. Now, because I've been hunkered up in my flat, not allowed out for the majority of it, most of my money has actually gone on creating this studio and being able to do YouTube videos. I'm about to move house very shortly, and in the new year I'm going to do a deep dive on setting up my new studio and all the kit that I use. However, I think the number one pick I have to say is the Shure SMB7 mic. This mic's been around for ages. It's a professional studio mic. If you like how I sound, then it's proved it's a good mic. It's a little bit expensive, however, I strongly recommend it. Also, because it's using something called an XLR cable, you can't just hook it into your PC. So this bit of kit called the Go XLR is also really good. It allows you to have multiple inputs and it allows you to mix up your sounds. This next product is for all the future film directors in the house. Now, as I said, I've had a son recently, so I've been creating loads of home movies, and let's be honest, my videos are pretty poor. So using this Zhiyun Weeble basically allows me to create near cinematic quality videos. So I get really nice smooth transitions. Everything is looking pretty pucker, and that is really good. All you need to do is put your camera on it. It takes about half hour to adjust it, which is a bit of a pain. However, the quality in video is amazing, so I definitely recommend it. Now, next up is my good old friend Google. I won't say the name because it might actually activate something. Now, I'm definitely 90% more lazy than I used to be, and I like that. So no longer do I have to get up to turn the TV off or turn the lights on or even turn the heater. I can just sit on my couch, eat some food, and Google does everything for me. It's genius. The only thing I would say is it never understands me, so I have to repeat myself like 5 or 10 times. I have no idea. Also, if you swear at Google, it doesn't really do much. Now, last but not least, I'm going to talk about fitness. So I'm quite into fitness and always have been. To stop myself getting really fat over the lockdown period, I've been doing 10,000 steps every day. Well, in fact, I've been doing 10,000 steps a day for about 4 years. And I managed to do this all with Fitbit. And the app or the integration is amazing. So I use the Charge 4 to walk around 10,000 steps a day. And also track my progress using the Aria. And I've been using these scales for like 4 or 5 years. Wouldn't live without them. They're amazing. Before we wrap up, I quickly want to show you how much you've been supporting me and just to say how much I actually really appreciate it. So on the screen in front of me, we've got the Google Analytics for my website for 2019. So as you can see, I've had 167,000 users and a little over 500,000 page views for 2019. In 2020, that has gone to 188,000 users. and 800,000 page views. For me, that is mental. That's nearly 1 million web page views all in a year. Now, considering I started this website maybe 10 years ago just as a way to write some issues I had at work down, having nearly 1 million page views every year is mental. Now, in terms of YouTube, I haven't put the same amount of effort in and haven't been going that long. However, everyone who follows me, I really appreciate. At the start of the year, I think I had about 220 subscribers. I've got 410 now. Hopefully by the end of the year, I'll get to the end of 2021. I'll get to 1,000. The aim is to see how far we can go with it. Again, I don't get paid any money for this content. I just do it to try and help people out. So I definitely appreciate anyone who subscribes. And on that note, if you've been enjoying this content, please hit that subscribe button. This is the last show for the year, so I hope you enjoyed this content. I aim next year to improve the quality of the content. I think I'm getting there slowly. This is definitely much better than the videos I was doing at the beginning of the year. So I hope you have an amazing Christmas. Hope you have an amazing new year. See you next year. Happy coding.